You see, things go wrong in life because one didn't grasp your original childhood situation. You didn't grasp the reality of the family. And my teaching was, to me, Mum was good and Dad was bad. That's because Mum never grasped her family. Her mum was good but weak. Dad was violent and bad. Mum was the loving one. Dad clearly wasn't, in her view, you see. She carried that through life, and of course it became the reality of her adult life too, because she never mastered it. And it's understandable. I mean, you know, we're children. My last wife, well, different, and I can't say I have the full understanding of it because, you know, it's a different culture, but even Mum seemed remote in some ways. And Mum's view, her mum's view, in other words, my mother-in-law's view of marriage was appalling. You know, you had to reconcile yourself to marriage, not greet it with open arms because it's the warm embrace of life and joy. And it's something to do with the subservience to the male in the Indian culture. He's very right, a bit like the Victorian male that my mum felt she was facing. So my last wife, once you get over the falling in love and, you know, everything being hunky-dory, so to speak, starts to transpire that this understanding of marriage rules how the life plays out. She saw Marshall, the most feminized man. I don't mean effeminate, I mean I understood Mum. I understood the woman's point of view. I could relate to women far easier than I can relate to men. I'm not the sort of beer-drinking sportsman and fighting aggressive male. I am pretty aggressive in some ways at sometimes, or have been. And I'm not sure about that. Yeah. Where was I? Yes, it's actually irrelevant. She sees me as she believes reality to be from her childhood. There's nothing I can do about that. I can be the kindest, softest, forgiving, helpful, loving, faithful guy in the world. Understanding beyond, you know, it won't make any difference. She will see through her glasses. In other words, the only way it can be solved is that she comes to... hang on. Let me just say it. I don't know if it's true. Is to sort out her understanding of her own parents. The dilemma that these two children, her mum and dad, I mean, were in their society, in their culture, in their age, in their views of what marriage was. And until in some sense they can empathize with their dilemma, the dilemma of their parents, until you can do that, you can't love your parents. Not truly, you see. Because you don't understand, like Mark Twain again, you haven't heard his story. When you've heard his story and Mum's story, then you can love them and have compassion. In fact, you go through life trying to understand the other person's story all the time, inquiring, thinking about, reflecting upon, until, quite honestly, you come up with the solution of how you're going to love them, because you feel you understand, and you are seeing it through their view as well as your own, of course. And you're not going to do that unless you have already yourself managed to understand mum and dad. Even if, dad was unfaithful and left, or mum was whatever it is, maniac, a witch, whatever it was. To understand, why is she a witch? Not condemn her for being a witch, I'm digressing. Yeah, I don't know. This is. Thank you, Dad. But do you see, know thyself. And to know thyself, you need to know your story. You need to understand, almost with the mind of God, your story. You need to understand it better than you, the one that's lived it, understand it. And that's a surprise, isn't it? You think you got it right because you had more experience of these two than anyone else. From a very subservient position too. You're just the child. I say just, but you know what I mean. You don't realise the child's everything. I mean, my mum was constantly telling me Dad didn't love children. Well, that doesn't help, does it? Perhaps he did, but perhaps he couldn't show it, or perhaps he hadn't sorted out with his parents. Very strange upbringing. I mean, two mums in effect, mum and sister, and Grandad, who was the Victorian gentleman, retired at 34 because he married wealth, didn't he? Yeah, good on him. Bless him. Thank you, Dad.